Okay, so before I get into what we're looking at here, I want to cover a couple of points, disclaimers in a way, I guess. Number one is that I'm not attacking anybody's style of play or questioning anybody's right to play however they want with their own money. My main concern is that a lot of material that's posted on the gambling channels on YouTube is misleading and potentially dangerous, and I don't know whether that's deliberate or accidental. I don't think, for example, that somebody like Mr. HP, Jason Balky, is deliberately trying to mislead people. That would be a terrible thing to suggest. I'm using his material, I hope not in contravention of some sort of copyright rule, because he's put it into a public forum, as if the way that he plays is relevant to blackjack play for other people. And my position is quite simply that random betting of any kind is dangerous, misinformed, foolhardy, and potentially disastrous. So, that's where I'm at, and I have no idea what the copyright implications are. It simply seems to me that if you drop something into a public forum, then you better expect that it's going to be pulled apart by somebody and criticised and maybe demolished. Now, once again, I want to say that I completely accept, and how could I not, that Jason has the right to do whatever he wants with his own money. He has a particular style of play which is mystifying to me, but it is certainly his right to do whatever he wants, and it is also his right to put in onto his channel whatever he wants. I just feel that I also have the right to look at material that's posted online and say, hey, wait a minute, this really is not a smart way to go. Anyway, before I move up to full details about the numbers that were involved in this particular session, Jason basically played 32 rounds against a double-deck game at American Place in Waukegan, Illinois, which he says about every 5 minutes in his videos from there, and I'm sure they're very grateful to him for the publicity that he provides. But anyway, he played 32 rounds, as has happened in many of Jason's blackjack videos or presentations or whatever. The deck or the data sample, the full set of shoes, was in his favour. In this particular case, it's a 3.3% player advantage, which is unusual for a blackjack session. But then again, 32 hands is hardly representative of anything. He plays 3 bets, 3 hands at once, and he puts exactly the same amount of money on each one, and that's fine. Again, whatever he does, it's his right. It is also my right to say that random betting is a dangerous game, but there we are. Left hand, he won 1,450, 5.5% return. Pattern betting didn't do that much better in terms of percentage, but it bet more than twice as much in terms of action, and won 3,250, which is more than double, but only managed to bump up the player edge or the hold to 5.7%. In the next group, the middle group of hands, which I've had to deal with separately because that's how it has to be on a spreadsheet analysis like this. Jason won 10,450, and you can see that his hold of his total action was a very, very healthy 39.43%. That particular grouping of hands, his middle bets, were actually 8 ahead, out of 32 bets. So that's a lot. You know, I mean that's a 25% player edge right there. Again, pattern betting did better in terms of its win. Bet about 50%, a little less than 50% more in action terms than Jason did, but improved on the hold. And in the right hand bets, Jason managed to win 600, and his hold was about 2.5%. Pattern betting, meanwhile, won 5,500, and its hold or player edge was almost 13%. Now, I completely accept that the vast majority of people could not give to use an expression I've used before, a tinker's toss about numbers or about any of this information, about any analysis of any kind, because they think gambling is all about excitement and thrills and danger and blah de blah de blah. I'm like the casinos in that I don't think that gambling is a game at all. I think it's a challenge for the casinos. It's a challenge to do everything that they can to herd gamblers, players, customers, whatever you want to call them, into tight corners, so they don't have much maneuverability and therefore are more likely to lose their money faster. The truth is that just like Jason, most people do not spread very wide. In this particular video, Jason gives a little lecture about how the only way you can beat this game is to spread wide and to, you know, sort of blah blah blah. I suppose I could add that soundbite to here, but it to me was kind of meaningless because he did not practice what he preached. His widest spread was 1 to 4. He didn't go higher than 2,000, and his lowest bet, his minimum bet, was 500. And of course, as far as I'm concerned, for pattern betting, that's an unfair environment, because there's absolutely no way that I would start at 500, and there's no way that I would spread as narrow as 500 to 5,000, because that's only 1 to 10, and it simply isn't enough in the normal course of things. But I figured that the correct thing to do was for me to follow Jason's parameters, as I have done on other examples of this kind of thing. I mean, I did one, you might recall, on the 2nd of February, which was Jason's session then. Again, one with a very definite long-term player edge. But anyway, that's I guess neither here nor there. The net AV was high, but coming back to this one, I just decided that the right thing for me to do was to use his parameters, not at all comfortably, but you know, that's just how it is. So anyway, let's go and have a look at. Let's see, yeah, if we go up and have a look at this particular set, and this is much more information. So, you know, you've got all of the left hand wins and losses, all of the middle bet wins and losses, and all of the right hand bet wins and losses. Just as a quick refresher, I mean, it's mostly common sense, but D is a dealer win, P is a player win, W is a wash. I can't use P for push because it's already being used. B is blackjack. I can't use N for natural because that's already been used for no, which is a failed double down. Yes is a successful double down, so you'll see one of those somewhere. There's one here, a couple here actually. And what else? Yeah, if you see a number in any of these result columns, it's going to be -3 or plus. It's when a double down becomes a triple bet or a quadruple bet or whatever. Like for instance, if you split and then resplit or redouble or whatever, and that happens now and then. And so once in a while you'll see an actual number in these columns, and I actually don't like that because it's untidy. But anyway, that's me. That's my particular phobia and all the rest of it. There is a link up here, and I'll put the link in the description for this presentation, so you can go and look at Jason's session there, which is about 25 minutes, something like that. What else have we got? We've got Jason's final outcome was a win of 12,500, which is higher than he reports in his video, but I don't take into account tips. And he was pretty generous with the dealers. I think he probably gave the dealers somewhere in the region of $1,000 or $1,200 in bets. They didn't necessarily win the bets or win the tips, but you know, that was money out of his bankroll that went out on behalf of the dealers. So that explains the difference between the win that I've got for him and the win that he shows. Given a 3.3% player edge, or an actual value to explain that again is once you've completed a session, you take the number of losses and the number of wins, and you use those numbers to get an actual value of the session. So for instance, 32 bets here, -1. It was -1 at the end, which is a negative of about 3%, something like that. Over here, it was for the middle bets, 8 ahead of the dealer of the house in 32, so that's about a 25% player edge. And then over here, he didn't play as many on the right hand side. He went down to 2 bets for the last 4 hands, and so there's 28 bets in the right hand section. -4 out of that is about 14 or 15% house edge. So overall, a player edge of 3.3%, and that means that Mr. HP's or Jason's indicated outcome, and you get that by multiplying his total action by the number at Y2 up there, 3.3%, and you come out with 2,521. He won 12,500, so his particular style of play did better than if he'd been flat betting 500 every time or whatever, or 1,700 or 2,000 or whatever. But he bounced up and down a little bit, and he got lucky, and you know, I'm sure deservedly. Let's be fair. And so he was able to multiply his indicated outcome by 5 to come out with 12,500. And with pattern betting, it's about the same, to be honest. I mean, yes, pattern betting won slightly more in terms of the hold of action, 17.3% instead of Jason's 16.2%. But the explanation for that, of course, is that I was stuck with his parameters, 500 to 5,000. So, you know, I had no option. If I'd come down to 500 to 1,700, well, I wouldn't have run the test in the first place, because that's ridiculous. A spread as narrow as 1 to 3 point whatever that is. It's not even 3.5. You know, it's just not enough. It's crazy. And the reason that I talk about missed opportunities here is when you look at player streaks that Jason enjoyed, he could have made a lot more money by following streaks or following patterns, but he just didn't do that. You know, sometimes he'd have a good sized win, like here, 1,700, and then drop his bet. You know, I don't get that. I don't understand it. But then, you know, I don't have to understand it. It's not my money. It's not my game. You know, he was there at American Place doing his thing, and he has every right to do whatever he wants. Just as I have every right to say to the audience that I have, which is a tiny fraction of Jason's audience. Of last time I looked, it was something like, I don't know, 410,000 subscribers. You know, you know, he's providing people with entertainment, excitement, blah blah blah. I'm providing people with boring numbers and advice that that betting the way that people like Jason bet, and there are others with their gambling channels like Brandon O'Brien and Vegas Matt, who doesn't stray into blackjack very often, but does once in a while and plays pretty damn badly. But you know, that's their right. They can do whatever they want. I mean, there's that guy Steve Will Do It, who I've come to think of as Steve Will Lose It, because there is no doubt that he's going to go down in flames pretty soon, unless of course he has infinite money at his disposal, which is possible. Some people think that he does. Some people think he's a multi-millionaire and that he has infinite credit. I did read somewhere that he's limited to, he can't bet more than 10,000 a hand or in one bet, and his rolling credit with is it Red Rock, Red Rum, Red something or other, whatever the casino is in Las Vegas is $500,000. You know, that none of that is relevant to any of this, because Steve in particular bets like a complete novice at blackjack, baccarat, whatever he does. He also does little slot sessions with Vegas Matt, and of course we all know that you cannot win at slot machines. You know, that's not even debatable. So that like when somebody like Brian Christopher says, I won 250,000 last year at slot machines, I have to say, bullshit. You know, it is simply not possible. I love the guy, Vegas Low Roller, who I saw the other day on a video saying, you know, these things are, you know, these machines are math machines. You know, you put in X and you get out a percentage of X, and that's it. So you can't beat them. And good for him, because, you know, a little honesty, a little bit more honesty in the field of well, the people who are doing it call it gambling. I call it playing. But, you know, hey, I'm not a billionaire. I don't have the kind of money that Steve Will Lose It All has, or Vegas Matt, or Brian Christopher, or any of the others, because of course they don't make their money at gambling. They make it from clicks that YouTube then rewards them for. So anyway, just going over to you know, you've got the information here, you've got the numbers if you're interested in numbers, and just going over to, if I get this right, the charts. You can see that the dark green naturally is pattern betting, and the light green is Jason's performance. Nothing wrong with that. He made money at the end of it. He made 10 or 11,000 or whatever it was, but of course he had an advantage. He had overall, he had a 3.3% player edge. That obviously also helped pattern betting, but I've demonstrated many times that pattern betting can kick ass against a very high negative expectation. Jason can't do that. There's just no way. But then again, I haven't seen him playing against the negative expectation for quite some time. I'm sure that he's far too honest and straightforward with his audience to cherry pick and only show blackjack sessions that he wins at. He wouldn't do that, I'm sure. So, you know, that's not an issue. But the red line in the right hand chart, of course, is the flat bet outcome. So you see that at the very start, a bad start from you know, sort of -4. Why minus? Oh, that's because the first one was a loss, I guess. He lost across the board because he's betting 3 hands, so that's possible. Dropped down to -7 and then shot up to, you know, well, anyway, you can see it all in front of you right now, so you know what I'm talking about. You know, this is how things look if you're playing against a fairly comfortable, fairly player-friendly set of outcomes. That's what Jason had here. That's what, therefore, pattern betting enjoyed as well. But the main thing, what I'm most interested in, is when I see Jason getting his ass kicked, which he hasn't in many a blackjack session now, but when he does get his ass kicked, I can take the outcomes from that, transcribe them to Excel, drop them into one of these models, and show you that pattern betting will prevail against negative expectation, whereas random betting, like Jason and the rest of them do, will not. If they lose more often than they win, they will lose more money than they win. That does not apply to pattern betting, because pattern betting is designed to win more when it wins than it loses when it loses. That's another bit of information which, and this is my bad, I have not put up here. And I will correct that and put it in the description. I don't want to waste your time right here and now with that. I don't think I put it down below. No, I didn't. But anyway, that's the story of this particular presentation. I'm just looking at something that Jason Bulkey has provided, Mr. Hanpei has provided. I'm grateful to him for that. I enjoy his videos. I have worries about the card table, the blackjack and baccarat videos, because they seem to me to be a little bit sort of, I don't know. He certainly does put up videos now and then where he loses. I just haven't seen one for a while. I tend to think that there are too many people out there on YouTube running gambling channels who do cherry pick, but I'm not suggesting that that Jason is one of those. I do prefer the guys who always tell you when they've lost, and Vegas Matt is one of those. He always sort of says, "Well, we got wrecked," and good for him, because honesty is a good thing. I think he's becoming more and more, Vegas Matt that is, becoming more and more brutally honest than he was in the very beginning, and I think that's good for him, and good for his audience, because there is no doubt that if you don't have Google sending you checks for $5,000 a day or whatever it is that he's currently making, you will suffer mightily at slot machines, betting the kind of bets that he and Jason and others, including Brian Christopher, will actually shovel into these machines. I mean, I can remember the time when $5 a pull was madness. I remember there was a woman in my old neighborhood in northern Nevada who had tons and tons of money, and she used to play $5 video poker games where you just you just keep on shoving money in. She had a big stack of $100 bills. This was before the days of coupons and all that sort of stuff. And she just had a huge stack of $100 bills and just kept feeding them into these machines like they were toilet paper or something like that. I mean, just incredible. But anyway, there you are. That's me done for a little bit, and I will calculate the win and loss values and show you the relevant data in the description when I get to that. Thanks again for tuning in or tuning out, whichever you did. Some people actually stick with me through whole videos. I think I can count them on the fingers of one hand, but I'm grateful for them. The most important thing to me is that I am putting the word out. I am explaining myself as carefully and as precisely and as accurately as I possibly can at every step of the way. There are thousands of people who are ready to jump all over me and demolish me and say that, this is insane, you can't beat these games, bloody blah. Absolute bullshit. And so my mission is just to basically keep proving them wrong. And I hope that there's somebody out there who actually thinks, well, okay, I've been playing like a prat. I've got lots of money. Now I'm going to not play like a prat. I'm going to play like a player and not a gambler. Wouldn't that be great? Anyway, see you next time. Yeah, just to add information that was missing before when I wrapped up, in column G over here, you'll see the top number is in the left-hand bet situation. The top number is Jason's average win, average loss. Win over loss is 116%. Using the same parameters, which is basically 500 to 5,000. I'm not at all comfortable with that, but never mind. 2,050 over 1,719, which is 119%. Yeah, about on a par with Jason's situation. Over here, the middle bet, 1,058 over 760, 139%. Jason did well there. Pattern betting did a little bit better. 1389 over 909, 153% win over loss. Over here, right hand, Jason managed 1255 over 794, which is 158%, and I've got to tell you, that's a surprise to me, but great. All I can do is report the facts, even if I'm surprised by them or not particularly happy about them. But there we are. In that particular group, the right hand bets, pattern betting did substantially better, 2,500 over 1,294, which is win over loss 193%. So there you have it. Under normal circumstances, I would expect in this environment, I would have started out with a bet of probably 25, and then, if necessary, gone to the 5,000. I knew that if I were to use the 25 to 5,000 for pattern betting, the end win for pattern betting would be a smaller amount. It would be a higher percentage, but a much smaller actual sum. And so I just felt that the right thing for me and for Jason and for the understanding of the crazy people who are actually watching this thing, it's best to stick with his tight parameters of 1 to 10, 500 to 5,000. So that's basically what we've got here. Both of us, Jason and I, did very well in terms of maintaining a higher, winning more when we win than we lose when we lose. Jason would not be able to do that, I don't believe, in a negative data set, a house biased data set. But I could be wrong about that. I mean, there are so many things for me to test constantly to just help to demonstrate and help to validate the whole idea I'm putting across, which is that random betting against random outcomes is doomed. Calculated, disciplined, strategic, tactical betting against random outcomes will win far more often. I don't know. We talk about, well, the money's just too much. It's too ridiculous. It's, sorry, that's how it is. I mean, there is no sense in going into any of these games without a shitload of money. And it has to be money that you're willing to put up in order to win. And I mean, years ago, I started saying to people in my blog, if you can't afford to win, you shouldn't play, which is just a little bit of a switch on if you can't afford to lose, you shouldn't bet. But no, it's absolutely true. If you cannot afford to win, in other words, to bet to the extent that is necessary in order to beat negative expectation, then you would be much better off doing something else with your money, almost anything, other than burning it, which is about the same thing. Oh, there's always flushing it down the toilet, which I suppose is, better for the environment in a sense. I don't know. But anyway, all I'm trying to say to you is random betting is a lousy idea. Don't do it. So, there you go.